G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. And I feel like today's project is going to be a little bit impossible. And that's because I am going to be making a genuine attempt at building a tram today. And that was something that went surprisingly well in my testing. But in my testing I had a jetpack. And building the scaffolding around here kind of scares me a little bit. I think I'm fairly low on iron at the moment, so I may just start off today with a little bit of stone mining. Iron 518. Yeah. Just do a little bit, because I hope that I'll be able to place down enough of these blocks and then maybe get this thing tested. Then to finish off welding stuff up and things like that, I might head back to the main base and pick up some more iron with the panini. Because no way am I mining stone enough to weld up all of this stuff when I've got the lawn chair base to fling stone down at me. Not stone, iron. Down at me. Just wouldn't make sense. But I also don't want to go flying back to the other base until I kind of have this place sort of functional. The first thing I'm going to need to build here is going to be the two rails that the tram's going to run on. Now, I think I might have set up this beam along this end poorly, given the lack of height I've got to work with here. So my plan is to actually remove that line there, and using these blocks, place a round one there, standard beam block there, and then this is going to be rail number 1. Right there. I can hook it up onto the end here with the same sort of round shape. And I like the idea of using these round pieces because I've got these round pillars for supporting the base. And I don't use round shapes often enough. So that'll be rail number 1. And that keeps it fairly high off the ground, which works well for what I've got in mind. And rail number 2 will come off there. Now, how on earth am I going to get this scaffolding down there so that I can place the rest of these rails? And then, how on earth am I going to get the rest of this to work? I hope I haven't bitten off more than I can chew, but I'm worried. I will admit, I'm concerned. I'm going to try the trick I was talking about last week of... Nope. Yep, there we go. Of using refineries as scaffolding. Because it's cheap. There we go. 2 steel plate and all done. And I'm going to have to be a little bit careful on how much iron I spend for stuff like this. Because I am running a little bit lower than I had imagined. Possibly because this ended up a little bit bigger than I had initially envisaged. With that many refineries, that should be enough for me to get this thing functional. Maybe I'll just do one more. Yeah. So the idea is I'll be able to build the rails out to where that last refinery is, and that should allow me to drill at least a little bit of this ice before I depart, and potentially some of the dirt that'll be under here, depending on how deep this thing goes, of course. Alrighty, I think that's going to be enough rail to work with. I can build this tram. And the tram's going to hang from this, obviously, because I'm going to need to drill down. I'm planning on building supports either side, using probably a straight beam block off the side like that, and then a curve, and then go down into the ice. So that'll be on the outer side. So the wheels are all going to sit either in the groove of the beam block, running this way, down the middle of it, or running along the top edge, because the weight will be pulling it down. So this should be fairly stable. Hopefully not need a huge number of wheels. Unless, of course, I end up making it big enough that it becomes heavy enough that I need lots of wheels. But I think it'll need fewer because of the beam blocks than my tram in Survival Maybe, which kind of needed to grip onto a single rail. Whereas this will have barriers either side of that, within the same size, and hopefully work fairly well. Last week I was saying that I was going to build this thing in large grid, but I think there are a couple of reasons why I shouldn't do that. One, I can definitely make this in small grid, and two, I forgot that 3x3 hinges were a thing. These are what I'm going to use for my hinge rope, because they'll get me a reasonable sort of distance per subgrid, unlike the, you know, little ones, where I'll only get 50 centimeters per hinge. You'll get 1.5 meters out of this, which is not too shabby compared to the large grid 2.5 meters. And it's going to make it a lot easier to get our tram working on these rails, because these rails in that groove will fit a 3x3 wheel, which is going to be sort of a zero friction locking device to keep the tram in place and on the rails. And then I'll use other wheels for propelling the tram along. So if I'm going to be building in small grid, I need to switch from large grid to small grid, and I'm going to need to do that up here. I think is going to be the best place to attempt it. So we'll go with a hinge, on top of which is going to go a piston. Piston's going to be there so that I can build this thing set higher and then lower it down into that groove, because although you can lower a 3x3 small grid wheel into this groove, you can't get it to place in there, or at least I couldn't, because the collision's gotten in the way of it being able to be placed. Going back to my old tricks from the beginning of Survival Impossible, using small conveyors as my cheapest way of extending things in small grid, because I can get 7 of these down for the price of one thing that requires a steel plate. So these are by far the most efficient way of doing this. In small grid, that is. I'm just going to put these in here for now, because I'm almost certainly going to fall off this edge. And it will make it much more convenient. So my plan is bring this down to the position where I'm going to build that first wheel. Once I place that first wheel, then we can work out where we're going to go from there. This should be the right position for the wheel. So if I start with a right wheel there, is that going to be... Yeah. Because then I change my height offset to 0. Increase my strength. Take my friction down to 0. And I turn the block off. And then that's going to, hopefully, if I check with this piston that I've now made very difficult to get to, because I've blocked my path, if I can lower it, can I get it? Yes. I can see if this will lower me into the right position. And it looks good. Though I'm going to have to get rid of this ramp to actually make it work. Hooray! The tram is begun. So this is the idea. We'll have these wheels in this orientation, the 3x3s, and then along this edge here, I will run 1x1 wheels, and they will be what will be propelling it, and these wheels will be what will be keeping it on the track. I tested for a while trying to get these to be the propulsive wheels, but the game didn't particularly like having them in contact with the block, resting down on it and trying to push against this. Weirdly enough, it was causing audio glitches, which I can't explain, although I guess might have something to do with them making shaking, vibrating noises and making so many that it actually caused the audio to fail. Since these are stabilizers, I might actually put them a fair way in front of and behind the tram, because I could probably get away with 4 of them if I put them far enough apart. It would make any potential turns in these tracks next to impossible, but I kind of don't think I'm going to get to the point of needing to have turns in these tracks. These tracks are just going to go out far enough that I can get enough ice, so I think that should be okay. I probably don't need to worry about that. Right, so this wheel's here. I want the 1x1 wheel to sit just above where that 3x3 is. I don't want the 3x3 wheel to be resting on its side, because I want the weight to be taken by these 1x1s so they've got some way to grip onto the rail. So it needs to be low enough that the 3x3 sits inside but not resting on it. And I think this is the correct height. So we'll start with a wheel there. Yeah, that looks right. I might go with, say, 4 drive wheels in a row there. Then I'll leave a big gap, and then I'll put another 4 at the front. So there'll be 16 drive wheels. Because 1x1 wheels are not very strong. So you need a fair few of them to push something that's potentially going to be carrying a lot of ice and stone to bring back to the facility here. This should give you a bit of a... Well, this should give you a much clearer idea of how this tram's going to actually move around. Obviously, once I have enough iron, I will come back and probably do a fair bit of decorative work here. Because right now I'm just trying to be as stingy as I can with the iron because I really don't have much left. I don't want to hand mine, but I do want to get this done, so I'm torn. I'm torn on how to do this best. Do you want this tram to be quite long? The longer it is, the more likely it is to be fairly balanced with these drivetrains at each end and hopefully most of the mass compressed into the middle somewhere between them. If I make it too short, I could end up potentially tipping the whole thing over if the cargo isn't distributed properly. For obvious reasons, that would be bad. Hilarious, but bad. Let's share an edge tensor on you so that it stops dropping down on me, flopping about. Oh man, even just this little stuff, placing down these armor blocks, uses up what feels like a significant amount of iron, even though it really shouldn't. I'm very, very close to just saying, I'm gonna have to go back, get some more. But I also know that if I just finish this off, I'll be able to get some decent supply of rock and can probably then finish this thing and actually make it work without having put the Panini at risk. And that could then mean when I go back, I can take a full load of hydrogen with me. All placed. We'll need batteries, and I might try and put 4 on this eventually, so I'll place down the 4, but I'll just weld 1 up for now. I want them to be probably as far out from the center as possible, so that their mass can have a bigger impact on, well, preventing this from tipping over, really. Where shall we go with these batteries? Not up that ramp. Ooh, I also need to be mindful that I don't want this going very high up, because it's going to be sliding in underneath this platform here, and there's only a single block clearance. At least even without these welded up, these batteries do weigh a decent amount, so I'll still get the weight balancing benefits of them, even before I actually get them completed. Oh, I'm just going to have to go back. I'm looking at how many things I need to weld up here, and there's a fair amount of steel plate. There's a fair amount of other bits and pieces, and it's just going to take so long. So, off we go. Into the Panini, back to the main base, and hopefully pick up a few thousand kilos of steel to bring back here to do some more building. I do not know how much power I have though. 66%-ish in some of the batteries. One of them is completely dead. It's weird, why is one of them... Anyway. Must have had just a small amount in it. Thrusters are on, dampeners are on. Unlock. Alrighty. Away we go. Veering a long way this way. Because I don't want to get near those facilities. Although I guess at this point, if I do, I am already heading home at least. Is that? Yeah, that's the reverse thrust. Cool. 21 minutes of power when I'm thrusting forward. There should be plenty of time to get home. Uh-oh. Which base? Oh man, there's one on the ice? Oh, that's not good. Oh, we gotta get moving. Time to go faster. Still can't see the drone. Oh, now I see the Mosquito incoming. 4.6 K's out. Let's move, 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 move. 3.2. I just got to get back so that it can get in range of my guns. This also means when I return, I need to take a much more circuitous route than I just took to get back. 3.04. Let's fly through this valley, I think. I think when I come back, I'm going to have to make sure I come back with some magnesium. Or ammo. Or both. Where's the mosquito at? 3.33. Okay, I'm still gaining distance on it. We are 9 kilometers out from base. To gain a fair bit of altitude, I had hoped this valley would be deeper. Jeez. Still making ground on the mosquito. Oh, okay, it's closing on me a little bit again. I've made some good ground, but it's trying to make you some back because I slowed down. I wasn't paying attention to my speed. Just trying not to crash. Alright, here we go. Back into the home valley. Is the mosquito going to switch targets when it comes over the nickel mine? Here we are. Look at that beautiful sight. Let's get down nice and low. Make sure those guns can hit that mosquito first. Assuming it makes it to me. And locked. And getting out. Don't think I've got any drones left. 2.6, 2.5. 1.4. This should be easily handled by my turrets. Oh, what's it doing? Why did it stop there? What's the mosquito doing? Looks like it's about to crash. Yep. That was weird. Huh. Chased me all that way. Did it? It can't have run out of power. It has heaps of power. Weird. Really, really, really weird. Oh well. Whatever. It is what it is. Right. Now that I'm here and it is starting to get dark, I should probably just quickly load this thing up. 40,000 iron. Grab some more nickel while I'm here. Some more silicon. Still seem to have enough cobalt. Now, magnesium. Am I actually... Ooh, no, I don't actually have any. Okay, that's unsettling. And not that much ammunition either. Cool. Bad. Very bad. Alright. Let's just get out of here. I need to make sure I'm landing back at the ice while it's still light. I also think with the power on the Panini running a bit low, it'd be really nice to get those hydrogen engines up and running, which means the tram first. We should be okay to fly roughly this way. Wait, did I not make a... Oops. Apparently, I didn't make a marker where my base is. Well done, Splitsy. Well done, indeed. So if I swing around that peak that's just there, if I swing around on the far side of it, I should keep myself, hopefully, on the right side of that base that spawned the mosquito after me. I think I might have triggered even more of the bases to arrive. Oh. It's going to be a fight between me and Assert to see who gets to control this lane of traffic. Because if they start putting bases down in this area, I'm not really going to be able to avoid them. I'm going to have to actually start taking them out, which is kind of cool. The concept that they might control these shipping lanes and I might want to fight them for it is one that kind of appeals to me. So it's that base to my left. That's the one on the ice. That's the one I need to make sure I stay far enough from. At least with 40,000 iron, I'm going to be pretty comfortable getting this whole tram finished in a single build, rather than having to mess around with mining by hand, because no one wants to do that for very long. I wonder if any of these bases are a threat to where I know there's magnesium. I think that magnesium I found is still in pretty rough terrain, so it should be okay, but it does make me wonder. Okay, I think I've gone a little too far. gingerbread bases over this way. I definitely swung around far enough this time. I am going to be landing in the dark though. Oh man, the green fog and this valley just look beautiful. I realise green fog would not be beautiful in the real world because it'd probably be bad for you. But in this instance, it's beautiful. Gotta have some bases. Some bases? Some bases on my lights. No, some lights on my base. And we're down. Oh, wow. Wow, that one trip cost me a lot in terms of nearby bases. We've gone from 3 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a panini. Okay. I am not going to be able to make that trip often until I have something to take these places out when they get spawned in. Oh. This makes me nervous. While I was welding up these batteries, I started thinking about the fact that normally I leave these things connected to bases as long as I can. But in this instance, I maybe shouldn't do that because the base isn't actually generating any power. In fact, the base is probably drawing power from these batteries, albeit at a very low rate, which means I might want to disconnect sooner rather than later. If I'm going to disconnect, I should probably have a remote control block or something like that on here so that I can apply a handbrake to it. As it would be less than optimal if it can roll away. The reason I'm using a remote control block rather than building a cockpit is the price. I know I brought a decent amount of iron with me, but still feel like I should be a bit stingy at heart. Remote. Handbrake on and off. Handbrake on. There we go. Now I shouldn't be able to accidentally push this thing off the end of the rail while I'm building it. Right. I'm going to need to build a new scaffolding layer down the bottom, and I think that's where I'm going to be working from now, since everything else should be lower than this height up here. Just to be safe, I might put a couple of extra beams across so that I am much less likely to separate this into a few different vehicles. It's almost like I've done something like that before and it went terribly, terribly wrong. Ah, Splitsy, what have you done? I put those wheels in the wrong spot. Ah! Wow, that would have been so much more annoying if I hadn't gone back home to get the iron. Ugh. Let's put some decorative warning stuff on here too, which will almost certainly be done better in plate than in a full block. Yeah. Might put a few of those bits around actually. Can I get at the other side? Maybe. I really like the idea of jumping up on that rail. In fact, I really don't like the idea of jumping up on that rail. But it might be the only way to get the block placed where I want it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to risk it. I'd have to go and build a fair bit of scaffolding to get it in the right spot. So instead, I'm going to do this. And just put them on the inside. I feel a bit weird using the beam block when I've got the rails made out of the beam block. But I think there are a few spots on this where it could make this look interesting. I might have let my power run a little bit low here. This is gonna hurt. Oh, nah, just made it. Cut that a little fine. How do I feel about this beam? I think it kind of works. I'll obviously have to join some bits up in the middle. I think it works. Yeah. I think having a few of these extra bits of girder around here will make this look kind of cool. Kinda? Kinda? I'm hoping that these extra beams that I've added won't look weird against the rails. I'm a little bit worried they were. I was a little bit worried that they would, which is why I'd initially started building this with just plain armor blocks. But I think having them mixed in and not the main component will hopefully avoid it being too obvious that the rail and these blocks are identical, just different in scale. I realize I should probably be spending more time making this thing actually functional, but I'm afraid that if I don't finish this top part, getting back to do any work on it is going to be very, very difficult. Or, at the very least, very, very risky that I'll fall to my death. I still only have that one little survival kit all the way back, right near the nickel mine. I'm going to need a name for this mining tram. Might have to wait and see how it looks before making too many decisions on that front. I'm liking these warning things on the half armor blocks.
Energy critical.
I think this looks kind of cool. I'm actually quite happy with how the shape of this is coming together. Even though I'm using predominantly heavy rust. Being able to use those warning stripes to break up the texture a bit more, and using the armor plates in various bits and pieces, I think is something I'm going to use a lot of, and is going to make a lot of my vehicles a lot heavier than they were in the past, because I'm going to end up building so much with this stuff and adding so many extra layers of plate and whatnot on there. It could get a little bit silly than I normally am. But if it ends up looking better, then it's all worth it. That's a shape I'm really going to like, I think, where my welder pit tip is pointing. Using the 2x1 slopes onto a half beam, because it just, that corner piece looks really nice as a supporting structure. It looks really clean. For the sake of the time lapse, I'm not going to put a warning light on it, a spinny light on it at this stage. So I think that would be quite horribly flickering in the time lapse shots. Anything else I want to do on the top here before I drop this thing down? I don't think so. I think this is going to be enough structural points to grab onto for the effective tram that's going to hang underneath this. More like a cable car, I guess this is, than a tram. But it's not running on a cable, so... A gondola? Does that have to run on a cable? Mining gondola. Sounds kind of cool. Yeah, can't think of anything else I want to add to this. So, that means it's time to get rid of this layer of scaffolding. And then drop this thing and start building up from that layer where the refineries are. Good. I should be safe to drop it from here, I think. Let's go. Looking good. Sitting in the rail, sitting on the wheels is where it is supposed to be. Let's get rid of this mounting point, and then we'll get rid of this last bit of scaffold up here. Then I've got to start scaffolding for building the actual mining mechanism. That, I'm not sure how exactly I need to approach, to be honest about it. Because I'm not sure how, I'm not sure how to approach getting the scaffolding where I need it to build this thing. It's a fairly complex build, this one, and definitely not one that's something I have previously thought about approaching without a jetpack. Okay, here we are. Now, how to do this? I need this thing to be kind of hanging low enough that I can create a spindle of hinges. And I need that spindle of hinges to be placed in the correct spot and be able to be piped into cargo containers that are going to be forward and backward of it. How to make that look even remotely good, I have no idea. This is going to be an experiment. Okay, so I need to have probably stuff coming down from here. Although if the spindle's going to be in the middle, maybe it should come down from here instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll mean we got one large cargo container. Come down a bit lower. Alright, that's probably low enough. So what we need to have is an interior plate. That's what we need to have. Ooh, hang on, I need this to be lower. I need my scaffolding here to be lower to do what I want to do. Dang it! I'm too high up because I don't have enough room for this spindle to have 2 rows of hinges around it if I've only got 7 blocks there. I'd really like it to be 8. I can probably do that by getting rid of these stairs here. Forgetting that those ones were attached to it. Whoops. And then popping them around the other way. So I think I'll go cargo container rather than junction because, well, the junction's just a bit of a waste of space at that point. I'm going to go underneath this scaffolding and support it from there so that I can rip out that refinery that's in the middle and do that bit of scaffolding the same way with the little dip in it. I kind of miss having the liftsy. Kind of need it at the moment. I think something like that would be really, really handy right now. Okay. Now that we've got some scaffolding, this medium cargo is going to be matched by a medium cargo on the other side, and then we're going to have 2 rotors facing each other because I'm going to need to have that extra torque to be able to wind this winch in. There we go. I think that's the right gap. I'm a little worried it's not though. Advanced rotor. Advanced rotor. Meeting at a junction. Oh no, this is right. This is right. Good. I did count it out correctly. Quite concerned I'd messed that up. So this needs to go onto there like that. And we need an advanced rotor part on here. And this needs to attach. Cool. With that attached, I should be able to use the torque of both of those to work for this ridiculous hinge contraption that I'm about to lay out all the way down along here. Because I'm going to have to weld the whole thing up, and that means placing it down here is the sensible way to go. Locking each one as I go. In fact, I may have to weld these existing ones up so I can lift it up and then build all the way down here, because I'm thinking this rope will have, say, 20 hinges in it, which gets me down to 30 meters from this point here. And I'm, what, 10 meters off the ground? So that'll go 20 meters into the dirt, which I think is pretty good. Should be all right. And then I'll have to build the rest of the structure around this, but I think if we can get this winch mechanism done today and tested, that's a pretty decent achievement. This has taken a fair bit of time to put together, but man, I'm so happy with how it's looking so far. This is working out as well. It's getting kind of annoying having to weld them as I go and not being able to place a whole bunch at once. Nope, nope. That's the last one I can place for now. How many is that anyway? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Alright. Another 4 after that. Then we can test this winding mechanism. When I did my practice builds in creative mode, just so that there was a little bit of uncertainty in how this was going to play out, I didn't test on Omicron. I deliberately tested on the Earth-like, where the gravity is just under half what it is here. So things could be quite different. Things could go much worse than they did in my testing. Simply because everything's so much heavier and the rotor's going to have to work that much harder. But, you know, makes it more fun if we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Didn't really think this through before. I hope this doesn't break as it gets scraped along here. Ugh. So we'll place a conveyor junction on there, then it'll be, where's my, I think I thought I saw I had chip tools on here somewhere. Then we have a drill, gap, on both sides. Connection on both sides as well. Like so. Because then I can put another drill on the outer side of that. I'm going to need to climb down so I can get some more scaffolding in order to safely place that. Alrighty. Drill number 2. And when my welder catches up to my thoughts, drill number 3. And that's it. I'm just going to have those 3 drills. I think that'll get me enough resources, enough ice to meet my needs. Now what I got to do is go to control panel, grab all these hinged 3x3s and call them winch chain. Save. They are all going to be toggled off. And my braking torque, I think, should be somewhere around 7,500 Newton meters. Then I need to grab those 2 rotors. I'm going to call them winch rotor 1 and winch rotor 2. In fact, I could do this from the cockpit down there instead of doing it from up here. So I can grab my power back while I'm doing it. Oh, no, I can't. I can't because it's no longer connected to the grid. Well, drat. Here I was trying to be clever and I actually ended up being dumber. Alright, winch rotor 1. Let's max those out. There's no rotor lock on. I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to set your velocity to 1. Winch rotor 2 because it's facing the other rotor. I'm going to crank them up, turn off rotor lock. And we're going to go to -1. So now when I turn the 2 winch rotors on, it should have them both spinning the same way. Now obviously I don't want to do that just yet because I've still got all this scaffolding in the way. But once I remove the scaffolding, we can start trying to wind this around that central piece and see how this works. I need to get to all these hinges. Chain. Which chain? And turn hinge lock off. Let's get rid of some of this stuff that's going to be in the way, which is probably just this row, actually. Might go underneath and just build a few more supports around so that all this scaffolding doesn't drop on my head or anything while I'm doing this. So I'd like to make sure that this is safe and done without explosions if I can. It's all just getting a bit silly, but I'm just being ultra careful here as I walk into a hole while saying that. Wow. That's special. Well done, Splitsy. Well done. Let's go up there and grind a few bits away and test this thing. So I need to lose definitely that. I may as well get rid of that just to be sure. I think I'll get rid of that one too. Oh, I'm glad I wasn't standing on that because I was pretty close to it. Then we get rid of that and that and this one. I think this might drop when I get rid of this refinery. So hopefully I don't get hit by that drill. There we go. So that's happened. Okay, cool. I'm going to put... Oh, I really... that's right. That's what I'll do. Button panel. Need a button panel. So if I put a button panel down, I can then safely control the start and stop of these rotors. And a button is going to be cheaper than building a whole cockpit that I then delete later. Oh man, just realized something. I have to jump over this hinge chain. I have to walk on that. Oh, I was half expecting to get flung then. So we need a start, stop, and a reverse. An on-off and a reverse. Oops. winch rotors, toggle on off. Reverse. Here we go. Oh. Those drills are going to get caught on this bit here. I think I should be safe to get rid of it. Might stand on this when I do it though. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we'll get rid of you. So by the time the drills get dragged along here, hopefully I'll be able to somewhat safely. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen here. Alright, let's turn these on. That's not the way I want them to spin. I want them to spin this way. Okie dokie. Let's see what happens here. I don't know that I should be standing here. Yep, this is just slightly terrifying. It's working though. Probably shouldn't have put those outer drills on yet. That was a mistake. Because they're the thing that's going to get caught up here and do damage to stuff. The rest of it would have fitted through a single... Oh. The rest of it would have fitted through a single large block space. Seeing something move so naturally in space, seeing something move so softly and naturally in Space Engineers is really kind of cool, but also really bizarre. Oh, is that gonna break? Is that gonna break? What's gonna happen? Oh!
Energy
Huh,
low.
that survived that somehow. This is probably the point to stop these winches. So I can get down to the ground, get my oxygen back, and just check out those hinges, make sure I didn't actually break anything with that drop, because that drop could have easily done some damage. Let's check it out. Nothing's smoking. I reckon I just missed that plate when I was going through. Oh, actually, maybe I did take a bit of damage. Cargo. Can I put stuff in it? Yes, I can. Alright. Everything is functional. Wow. Alright, let's go and winch this thing up. I'm going to need to get rid of some of this stuff. Yeah, clear line for the drills to pull through. And we can winch this thing up. No more scaffolding in the way. Once I get this drill operational, once I've got a cockpit to sit in, all that sort of stuff, I'll test and see how much it shakes around, and I can adjust the level of braking torque on all these hinges so that they hopefully don't jiggle around too much. Look at that though. Look at that. I left enough room comfortably. So if I decide to make this chain longer at some point, I have room for it. And off. There we are. My little snail coil of a winch. And it works. That is awesome. I was a bit worried that it wasn't going to be strong enough even with unloaded drills in 1.9 Gs. But that's the drill design. That thing is going to lower down and drill out this ice. Next time, I'm going to get the rest of the car done, and I think we'll be able to actually get this thing mining. Because the bulk of this is done. I just do need to get... Well, I don't want to rip out all this scaffolding just to do a test run with this when I'm not going to be able to do anything with the stuff that's in there. I want to be able to build the whole thing up and then... Oop, that didn't look good. I think it's okay, though. But yeah. Next time, we will finish this car, we'll finish the control system, we'll actually get it tested, and then we can start thinking about how to go about extending the rails each time I need to get a little bit further out. It'd be really quite cool to build something that could potentially drop a section in place. Given I've got the Panini, I might be able to even use it to drop sections into place. Weld it up in a space around here where it's easy to get access to, even just on the ground, just laying down a whole segment and then use it. Because what I was thinking with the Panini, as someone suggested it, I should make these actual landing legs with the new magnetic padlocks. I was thinking I could use the beams again and then put the pad at the bottom, because then I won't need to have this little cutout to have it feel more open. But that's my thought with those little landing legs, and then they'd be potentially strong enough, well, this would definitely be strong enough, to lift up a segment of rail, which I can then use the weld pads to lock into place. Use more weld pads to lock in a stand that's going to come off the side and make it look like it's supported. And then I should be able to extend this out as far as I need to go as I gradually create a trench as long as this chain allows. So there's all that and plenty more to come. And my little snail nautilus shell, I don't know what to call it, thing, I'll see you then. Assuming it doesn't explode.